Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and I am back. I am finally back. This is my first deck tech in 2 weeks. For those of you who haven't watched my I'm back video, I had a CPU and a motherboard die on me. It was not pretty, and I wasn't exactly in a financial place to replace them right away, and I had to jump through a lot of hoops and a lot of red tape just to finally get my PC back up and running and get things moving forward. If you're interested in helping out with some of what's going on, watch my I'm back video. I will link it up above, and you'll get some insight onto everything that happened, what the channel is doing right now, and what we're prepared to do moving forward, and sort of our goals for the channel moving forward. But with all that out of the way, let's talk about today's deck. Today's deck is called Year of Despair, and there's a reason for that. This was the next deck that I was planning on dropping right when my computer fried. It happened right after they announced standard rotation was going to go to 3 years instead of 2 years, and that is a huge red flag to me. So I figured, what better opportunity than to show everybody with a deck that utilizes only cards that would have rotated from last year and beyond, to build an entire deck and have it still be broken and still beat everything. So that's what we did. Every single card that's in this deck, especially Invoke Despair, is a card that would have rotated come September, that now, because of the new standard rotation rules, is not rotating. And this deck just went there, man. It got tons of wins. Obvious deck is obvious. Play good cards, beat other decks. It's kind of a no-brainer, but it's just kind of ridiculous how much this deck reinforces the idea that rotation really needed to happen. Before we get to the deck, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. We do have a Patreon now. Part of that is to deal with the issues with my CPU and how I still need to buy a new one, and I'm using a loaner CPU right now. So we did launch the Patreon. I will link that below, and I will link that in the card up above as well. Check that out if you get the opportunity to. I would really appreciate feedback on what you think of the different tiers and what I'm offering, and if you think maybe there's some other ideas that we should incorporate in there. I'm very open to critique on that. But even if you can't sign up for the Patreon, honestly, just liking, subscribing, commenting down below, letting me know what you think of the deck and all that kind of stuff, all of that helps out so much in pushing the content out to more people with the YouTube algorithm, so that the channel can grow. And we need nothing more than that right now, coming off 2 weeks of inactivity. So I would appreciate that greatly. Let's check out the deck. Alright, so the whole point of this deck is I wanted to prove a point that a deck consisting of nothing but cards that should have rotated come September if Wizards didn't change the way standard rotation happens. A deck consisting of nothing but those cards that would have rotated is actually very competitive and can beat most of the decks that are using cards that are newer, that are coming from the last year of Magic. Just to drive home the point that these cards need to go. I'm sick of playing with them, I'm sick of playing against them, and they're going to dominate the standard environment for another year. Now, I'm hopeful that we are going to get some bans announced pretty soon, and some of these will be out of here, and it will shake up the standard meta, but it just seems like Wizards is sort of setting themselves up for failure in a way by changing rotation to begin with, and putting themselves into this predicament where now they have a standard that's gonna need a lot of fixing in order to remain healthy moving forward. So starting at the bottom of the curve, we have some of the most overused, way too powerful cards. We've got 4 Bloodtithe Harvester for obvious reasons. Doubles as removal, it works as a very powerful aggressive creature on curve, and it gives you 2 permanents for the price of just 1 card. All of that is just insane. And then we've got 3 Tenacious Underdogs, because again, it's a very efficient, powerful creature on curve that can swing in for 3 damage for only 2 mana, but also when it dies, we get extra value in that we can bring it back every turn. None of this is new, you guys know these cards already, but just kind of really want to hammer home how much value each of these cards brings to the table and why they're so good and the reason that they dominate the standard meta. We've also got 3 Reckoner Bankbusters because it provides so much card advantage, it's insane. And if that isn't enough, it can actually swing in as a 4-power creature pretty effectively. You play the Bankbuster on 2, and then on turn 3, you play any 3-power creature, and you immediately swing with a 4/4, which is nutty. You draw 3 cards later. It gives you a treasure, gives you a token. It's just way too much. You guys know this. So that's the 2-drop slot. Moving on to the 3-drop slot, we have the obviously most overused card that hopefully this is the #1 ban coming. This is Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Just provides way too much value for 1 card. It's an automatic 2-for-1 in that it gives you a 2/2 Goblin Shaman that can make treasures every time it attacks, needs to be dealt with on curve, and then leaves behind this saga that needs to be dealt with no matter what as well before it flips into Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, which can provide almost unlimited advantage later in the game. And if that's not good enough, on the way to becoming that, it also lets you cycle 2 cards out of your hand for free and draw 2 more cards. I don't know how this card ever even existed, but hopefully it goes soon. We've also got 4 Brutal Cathars because it's an automatic 2-for-1 unless they can deal with the Cathar. And even if they do deal with the Cathar, it's still a 1-for-1 because the Cathar itself is getting rid of a piece of their removal, while also slowing down their tempo in order, while taking away a creature in the meantime until they can deal with the Brutal Cathar. So it's almost like at least a 1.5-for-1, even if they kill it and get their thing back. And if they can't kill it and get their thing back, it is an automatic 2-for-1. The fact that it can keep exiling other creatures if you can flip to night and back to day is gravy, and the fact that it can become a 3/3 for a striker in some situations is also gravy. Just crazy card advantage. Speaking of card advantage, we have Wedding Announcement because it just pops out 1/1s like there's no tomorrow, and once you have 3 of them, it flips into an enchantment that gives everything +1/+1. As if it wasn't crazy enough just getting multiple bodies out of this one card as well as an enchantment on the board. But if you manage to swing with 2 creatures along the way at any point, you also get a card in your hand. And if you can do it twice, you'll get 2 cards in your hand. Just the amount of versatility and card advantage that this can provide while curving out is just kind of nutty. So obviously this card's way too good and it's in here as well. We've also got Graveyard Trespasser. And the reason Graveyard Trespasser is so good is something that's often overlooked. It's because on curve, it's really hard for the opponent to actually deal with this and not be 2-for-1. Because of that ward, discard a card, usually our opponent has to 2-for-1 themselves in order to hit the Trespasser with removal. And a lot of times, just the Trespasser has to get hit with removal, or else you are curving out too effectively for your opponent to keep up with. So it's kind of a screwed if you do, screwed if you don't situation. It can exile cards every time it swings or when it comes into play. It can start to tip the scale in your favor by draining life every time it does it, but also it can get rid of some of those problematic cards from graveyards like an opponent's Tenacious Underdog, things like that, before they have an opportunity to get extra value out of those cards. So there's just a lot of versatility that was originally, I think, overlooked a little bit when this card first came out. But again, the fact that it's ward discard a card just means it's practically immune to targeted removal, and that's just really good on curve. We've also gotten the 4-drop slot for Wandering Emperor. It's just, again, built-in card advantage. The one thing that all of these cards have in common is they're kind of automatic 2-for-1s at least. The Wandering Emperor can come into play, -2 to exile the most problematic attacking creature that's swinging in at you, while also giving you life, and leaving behind a permanent that can start to make more creatures as like a creature factory later in the game. Everybody knows this card is great. Everybody knows all of these cards are great. But it's pointing out the fact that it's just automatic card advantage. And a lot of times, most of these cards, it's sort of brainless card advantage, where you don't need to think too hard about how to get the card advantage, you almost automatically get it. And that's why a lot of these cards are just played in almost every deck where the color is used, is because it's hard to screw it up. It's hard to not play it correctly. I mean, you still can with something like the Wandering Emperor, if you're not choosing the right modes or to play it at the right time, but the fact that it can make bodies on -1, it can pump up your dudes with +1, it can exile on -2, it just kind of does everything while leaving behind another permanent that your opponent has to deal with. And then the mother of all 2-for-1s that are brainless isn't even a 2-for-1, it's an automatic 3-for-1, Invoke Despair, and I think that's why this card is so problematic. This is actually my pick for the most problematic card in Standard, even though I think Fable is the most bannable because it's just everywhere and I'm sick of seeing it on turn 3 every game. Invoke Despair I actually think is the most problematic card because this is, to an even greater degree than anything else in this deck, this is the no-brain automatic 2-for-1, 3-for-1 style card where you play this for 5, you automatically get 3-for-1. It doesn't matter what your opponent has on the board. It doesn't matter if they have creatures to sacrifice, enchantments to sacrifice, planeswalkers to sacrifice. No matter what, you're 3-for-1ing. If they have nothing to sacrifice, you're drawing 3 cards and doing 6 damage. You're spending 1 card, getting 3. If they have things to get rid of, they have to sacrifice that. And what's great is for black, it's really hard for black to deal with enchantments, and this is a way for black to deal with enchantments, which already kind of breaks the color pie, which really sort of infuriates me. I don't think that's how this card should have worked, but I mean, it's a way for black to deal with enchantments, I guess. Sure, why not? And then the fact that it also hits planeswalkers, it's very rare for your opponent to have more than 1 planeswalker, and a planeswalker is always something valuable enough that, like, it's almost going to take something like this to just deal with a planeswalker anyway. So the fact that you have the extra 2-for-1 tacked on to something that's dealing with your opponent's opposing planeswalker, it's just way too much value, and it's brainless. Like I said, you don't have to make decisions. No matter what your opponent has on the field or not on the field, you're automatically getting a 3-for-1, you're automatically digging into your deck closer to a second Invoke Despair, and you're automatically dealing with problematic permanents that your opponent might have on the field, and still getting the value even if they don't. It's way too much. It's way too much. The fact that they can lose life as well is just kind of insult to injury. Like, did the card really need to be that powerful? I don't think so. I really hope it gets banned. And then that brings us to the last problematic card that I think should have gone with rotation and is just super crazy that it's sticking around, is Farewell. Now, sweepers have always been really good, and to a certain extent, sweepers have always been infuriating because your opponent will take multiple turns to set up a dominating board presence where they're going to finally take you out. They are making better decisions than you, quote unquote, and setting up a better board state to win the game slowly over the course of each turn, and you just take all of that away with a board wipe. What's different about Farewell from normal board wipes is normally you can play around it. Normally a board wipe will only hit your creatures, and you can still set up with other permanents in play or with the ability to get back things out of the graveyard. There's just multiple ways on top of what you would normally be doing in the deck to sort of play around the sweeper. But the fact that Farewell can exile kind of anything, and you can pick and choose so that whatever best fits the situation is what you choose, is what makes it too powerful. All of those little nuanced ways of where you can kind of play around a board sweep and still come out with some value and still start to rebuild against that sweeper are taken away by Farewell. Oh, you've got plans to sort of still eke out a little bit of value from the things that go to the graveyard? Nope, graveyard's exiled. Oh, you have plans to leave your enchantments on the field so that you can recover with those after your creatures are gone? Nope, those are exiled. Same with artifacts, same with creatures. Even the fact that they're exiled in general makes it problematic because you can't even get extra value in later turns off of things that interact with the graveyard because it's all going away and it's all exiled. So there's just because this leaves no sort of room for nuance of how a deck can sort of plan around you casting the Farewell and sort of mitigate a lot of the damage that this card will do to the board, it just ends up being way too powerful. It ends up being a card where if you are committing enough cards to the board to potentially win, Farewell just takes that all away and puts you in a position where you can almost not recover at all. But if you're not committing enough cards to the board where that's going to happen, then you're probably not racing the opponent fast enough, so it doesn't even matter and they don't even need to Farewell. So it's too versatile. It deals with too much in such a permanent way that's more than just destroy because of all the exile. And it's just too hard to play around, I think. The fact that it leaves your Planeswalkers, and the deck that's using the Farewell's always going to plan to have Planeswalkers to play with it, so that you can be left with those Planeswalkers no matter what, even if you exile everything else, gives the deck that's playing the Farewell an extra little bit of advantage that the other deck's not going to have because you are planning for it. There's just so much here. The games are crazy. We're gonna not drag this out any longer. Let's check out the games. All right, we will keep 7. We'll start with a Haunted Ridge. Play Tenacious Underdog on 2. We'll check it out. We'll check it out right after this game. It could just be delayed shibbies. I've noticed it doing that lately, where it will sometimes delay submissions. Alright, Fable's down. Invasion of Theros. Sure. Sure. I may discard things. Well, I don't think I'm going to need the Farewell. Let's do this. Ooh, this is strong. Guess we'll just do it like this, right? Makes sense to me. Put him at 6 and draw 3. Hello. Plays a Catilda. I think that's a bit late. Bit late, friend. Goodbye. For another year. The point of rotation is to keep things fresh. When the most powerful stuff from the old cards is gone, there's a power vacuum. And you have to start experimenting with the newer cards more and using a greater variety of the newer cards to try and fill that power vacuum. And that's not going to happen without rotation. So there has to be good bans. We need the banners. Alright, Bloodtithe Harvester. Man, the second white has been pretty elusive. Let's Swing 3. Play another Harvester. End the turn. What's going on, Flush? Welcome to the stream. Alright. Try swinging first. Actually, should probably just blitz the underdog in, huh? That's okay. We'll play it outright. End the turn. Archangel of Wrath. I'm actually going to dump one of these invokes, which I know seems crazy, but we need 2 more black sources to be able to play it. And that's just... oh my god, you know? Kill the Archangel. Swing 6. And we have lethal. What's going on, Vermantis? I'm sorry I missed you saying hi earlier. I was in the zone. I noticed it after a little bit.
Let's rock!
Hey! We got the gift sub from Shibbies! There it goes! Was it just delayed? We will keep this. I mean, yeah, nothing's preventing you, Shibbies, that's for sure. I would suggest if you do, maybe pick somebody that is in the chat right now that could use one that maybe doesn't have a sub. Rather than it picking one randomly. But there's also, I'm going to link to YouTube right now. The Patreon is up, but I don't have a Patreon command in Twitch yet. We just launched the Patreon today. So if you guys do feel like helping the channel, donating or anything like that, you can check out the Patreon, because that just went up today. Alright, we're going to play Bloodtithe Harvester, pass the turn. But gift subs are great too. In some ways, gift subs can be better than the Patreon, because it'll help us get to community night. Let's try swinging first. I think we probably just play Fable here. Wow. Lightning strikes the Goblin Shaman token. See, that's why Fable is so good. Forces them to use up 2 cards to deal with it. So problematic. What do we get rid of? We want to hit our 4th land and play Emperor, probably, right? But if we don't, then we want to play Cathar. And we want to get to that Invoke. We're going to dump these. Here we go. First strike, Vigilance, Haste. We're going to swing. If he blocks, we'll Emperor. If he doesn't, we'll just Emperor when he swings with it. +1. Alright, unless they can deal 4 damage with haste, they can't kill our Emperor this turn. Okay, okay. Here for it.
Still have much to learn.
Alright. I think we do this. It is a little risky. But here's the thing. If he's killing our Brutal Cathar, then he's not killing our Reflection of Kikijiki. Which means next turn we can kill whatever we want with Harvesters. so it's probably fine. Alright, he draws a card. My turn. And we've got all the fun. Offer a trade with the Harvester. Just need one more black mana and we can Invoke Despair. It's good to force him to trade while he can't put his counter on something else. Phoenix Chick. Raiju. Sure. We'll just kill everything next turn. Everything is fine. Everything is wonderful. Eat you. Make a copy of you. Sack you to kill you. And then swing 5. We are winning the race. He is pretty empty on cards, and we haven't even got to play an Invoke Despair yet. Another Raiju. Alright, still not enough. We got it. Alright, keep 7. Shattered Sanctum. Cliffs Harvester. Man, everyone's obsessed with this new domain deck, huh? But you don't even need new cards, guys. You don't even need them. You just play the old stuff that's not even supposed to be in Standard in September. Leyline Binding, sure. Wow, okay, hits the Bankbuster. That Farewell's looking mighty nice. I don't expect to need 2 of them though, so I think we're gonna dump it to a blood token. Unless we need to use the Harvester to kill whatever he plays this turn. Nope. He's ossifying it anyway. Alright. We're gonna dump a Farewell. Draw a card. Hopefully it's something we can play. Well, we know for sure we can invoke next turn. We'll pass with Wandering Emperor at the end of his turn. And then we'll invoke. That should be a pretty strong turn.
Anyone who harms my people must.
Alright, -1. We'll make a 2/2. And he will Binding the Emperor.
Until next time, then.
He's gonna have a
Keep
bad
watch for
day.
intruders.
He's gonna have a bad day. Assume he gives us back the Harvester. Yep. And we swing 2. Like, who needs strategy or synergy? Just play dumb good cards that shouldn't exist. That seems fine, right? Exile everything. Everything. Every single thing. Give me my shit back. Thank you.
I'm not overconfident. We'll get something going. We must protect the people.
Just play all the best cards. It's fine. Right? Who needs to think of new decks or use new cards? Not I. Not I. Look at that. Look at this. Wild. Wild. Wild.
Remember your training.
Wandering Emperor? Nope. Alright. You're at 1. Good luck. I feel dirty playing this deck. I don't like it. Feels wrong. What's he gonna kill? He's going to take out the Wandering Emperor.
You would run
Okay.
if, I guess that's that.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, dumb card is dumb. Stupid card is stupid. And he scoops. Didn't see that coming. So we're playing handicapped with none of the new cards, but we're still able to wreck face. That's a problem. We'll keep 7. Let's see. I think we want black on turn 2, red on turn 3. Something like that. Okay, underdog on 2. Alright. We force him to use up his play with fire. That is fine. Shattered Sanctum. Fable. Wait, Fable of the Mirror Breaker on turn 3 in a deck that has red? I would never expect that. Ever. Samut. Discard you. You know what? We'll discard both lands. I bet we'll draw into another one. Nope, we didn't. It's okay though. We'll do this. And if he blocks, we'll Wandering Emperor. So predictable.
I've learned much during my travels.
Alright,
I
kill
have got new
Samut.
moves to teach you.
Top deck any land and we get to invoke Despair next turn. Unless he kills the Goblin Shaman token, but I think he's got bigger fish to fry with the Wandering Emperor. Another Samut. Can we top deck a land? Yes, yes we can. Let's see what our friend does. Takes it. Sounds about right. We will invoke Despair. I agree, Squirrel.
Say we take off, move the side from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Let your blade do the talking.
Mono faces Kaka.
On.
Reckless Stormseeker. And it just doesn't matter. Trade the Reflection of Kiki-Jiki for it. Okay. Okay. Goodbye. 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 Plus one here. Swing for 6.
Show them how we
Probably just win next turn.
It's all on the reflexes.
Felden, sure. I mean, that's pretty strong. Doesn't have vigilance. Let me think what's better. Keep our attacker. Keep our emperor. I think we keep our attacker and we just win. Pretty close to it.
wandering.
Pretty close to it. Swing all. We're gonna hit him for 6 no matter what, and then we can Trespasser. Ping him for 1. Good night. This looks fine. We don't have the white, but I mean, shouldn't be too big of an issue. We'll lead with the bridge. We'll go Cliffs on 2. Hopefully draw a 2-drop. Hey, there it is. We can Fable. Potentially use the Fable to get our white for Wedding Announcement. Ossification, sure. Swings for 1. Alright, Fable it is. Seems pretty good. It's almost like Fable's a good card. Or something. Gets my token. I'm not going to take a chance on whether or not we get the white for those cards. I think the correct play is just to play out Harvester here. Pass turn. So we can use our Harvester to theoretically kill the Annex Sentry if we really wanted to now. I don't think we should, but okay, he's gonna ossify again. That's fine. Could discard and draw. I don't think that's where we want to be, though. I think we Brutal Cathar. Hit the thing we have the most trouble with. And end the turn. Probably can kill the Brutal Cathar, but we have got rid of a lot of his removal. So maybe not. Maybe he's stuck. No, he does have Homestead Courage. He's getting there. Alright, so he's gonna hit in for 1 more. We're gonna let it happen. That's fine. We'll trade. We couldn't let him get in for another poison. Point of poison. in addition. That would be very bad. I don't think Invoke is going to be good enough here, if I'm being completely honest. He just sacks a token, right? I mean, he would have to sack one of these ossifications. I don't think that's quite enough. You just gotta hope to get a little bit lucky, I think. Those seed cores are gonna be problematic. We're just gonna have to let the might through. Oh, he didn't swing with it. Interesting. Very interesting. Alright, we might be okay. I'm gonna swing with one of these, I think, because we do need to start racing. He does have a Rot Priest out, and we're at 7 poison counters. So I don't want to get too crazy. Do we dump something? I guess. He could turn this into a 3-2, which isn't quite good enough. We'll get rid of our own Trespasser to drain 1. Alright, we got him at 8. Play out that Fable. And Bankbuster. He is going to get through with something. Question is what? Sure. We have no land to get. We already know that. Oh, that's rad, Shibbies. Thank you so much. I guess it's best to do it like this, right? Kind of want to get that token, but there we go. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. We're working hard to get to 2,000 subscribers now because we blew right past 1,000. So make sure you like and subscribe. Also, if you'd like more magic deck techs, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere over there. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.